So at this point, Season 10 is coming out tomorrow at the time of recording this video, and we've received just about all the news and updates that we can really expect to receive at this point. We have seen the patch notes, we've watched the developer update, and most importantly, we've seen the Season 10 trailer, which confirms that Mercy would be receiving the Mythic skin in the Battle Pass. And with all this focus on Mercy, a lot of talk on, how well the Battle Pass will sell with her as a Mythic skin, how she's always receiving cosmetics, etc., I thought it would be a good time to make a video focused on Mercy and sort of the state of her right now. And I wanted to lead off with this kind of like a thesis statement almost. Mercy will probably be the support that struggles the most this season, but it's for the best. Now this probably sounds a little contradictory, but let me break it down by saying this. First, Mercy will struggle, and I think that's for two reasons. The first involving the balance changes made to other support heroes. First of all, we have Alari, who will have a slower fire rate on her primary in favor for an increased healing ability. Next, we have Lifeweaver, who will have an increased self-heal when dashing, as well as a buff to his Tree of Life, which will have an increased pulse heal. And finally, we have Moira, who will have her damage ability decreased, but have a buff of an increased self-healing when using her ultimate. Now, the main point of these changes, according to the devs, is to sort of reshift some of the focus of these hero kits. And as we can kind of see, most of these shifts are to better help with healing teammates, or even just sustainability and survivability in general. One thing that you'll quickly notice is that Mercy isn't on this list. And in my opinion, with the DPS passive playing a huge role in having these changes made, we see Mercy kind of falling a little behind in terms of healing. Overall, the gap between Mercy's ability to heal and the other support's abilities to heal is kind of growing larger in my opinion. Now at this point, you're probably rolling your eyes and saying that, well, big deal. Mercy shouldn't be picked for her ability to heal. Her res, damage amp, and even her movement abilities are her strengths. And in saying that, you'd absolutely be correct. My counterpoint to this is that Mercy's damage amp, res, and movement abilities seemingly can't be changed at all in the future if the gap between her and other supports gets too large. To make my comment a bit clearer, let's think about Lifeweaver with his pedal and life grip abilities. We did sort of a video talking about him in the past, about how he was underpowered and how that was kind of a result of the nature of his abilities. One with his ability to put down a platform and one to pull an ally. They can't really fundamentally be changed to become any better without something drastic like a rework. And this is, like we discussed, how that was a pretty big issue for Lifeweaver being underpowered, and how this sort of forced him into this role of just kind of being a heal bot. And I think sort of the same applies to Mercy, albeit in a bit of a different manner. These abilities that Mercy has, damage amp, res, and her movement abilities, are also polarizing that for the sake of Mercy's impact on other heroes like Pharah, Sojourn, and Ashe, they can't really be changed, specifically her damage amp. Think back to when Sojourn was first released, and with a Mercy pocket, Sojourn was able to one-tap enemy DPS and supports with her railgun. While Sojourn was still pretty strong without Mercy, it was clear that Mercy was a huge reason for Sojourn having her numbers tweaked in a big way. And if I remember correctly, this was the same issue with Ashe as well. This is all to say that I think that Mercy's other abilities are kind of stagnant. Her res is much like one of Lifeweaver's abilities. It can't really be changed without making the ability either useless or overpowered. And that of course depends on whether you view that ability as being overpowered right now. Talking about her damage amp, it definitely can't be increased at the risk of making certain DPS heroes far stronger than they should be. And we can attest to that since it was just nerfed. And as we've seen in the past with her movement abilities, when they were tweaked, there's a fine line between Mercy being too elusive, which can be seen by her current pick rate on console where she is very hard to hit, and then not being elusive enough, such as when her Guardian Angel ability was nerfed to about 2.5 seconds. And that's where my second point kind of comes into play, where Mercy's struggling would be for the best in regards to general gameplay. Overwatch in a state where Mercy is enabling DPS heroes like Sojourn when she first released isn't really good for everyone, which is where Mercy's struggling becomes sort of like a necessary evil. But overall, I'm not trying to drive home this point that Mercy is unplayable in her current meta. As I kind of alluded to earlier, Mercy has the number 1 pick rate on console and has the second best on PC. She was, is, and always will be super popular to play. Maybe my point is that maybe she's just a bit harder to justify playing in comparison to other support heroes. The way that I've thought about it recently is that Mercy's no longer able to make bad DPS good in terms of pocketing them, but she's only able to make good players great or better, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just takes some getting used to. I know a lot of people have strong opinions on Mercy, and I definitely do too. The numbers are a bit bugged since transitioning to Overwatch 2, but I probably have about 500 hours on her. And I can definitely feel this shift, especially this season. This is probably, overall in Overwatch 2, there's just been a steady decline of me playing Mercy. And It's hard to explain why, but it's just in comparison when you get these heroes like Ana, who's super popular right now, at least in my opinion, when I play her, like the eye test just tells me that she's doing a bit of everything. I mean, the biotic grenade, the sleep, her healing output. You can even look at Bap and his AoE heals, his burst heals, his immortal field. I mean, it feels like Mercy's sort of being pushed to the side, at least in a lot of competitive play, which I've done plenty of this season. That's just my general eye test look. And like I said before, the stats don't support Mercy's struggling, at least. She has about a 50% win percentage, which is average, and her pick rate is super high. But I, for some reason, am predicting like a bit of a fall off with her pick rate, which I know is crazy to say, and I'm expecting to be wrong, but it's just the vibe I'm getting. And let me know if this is like something that you guys are picking up on too, or, challenge me. Tell me if I'm completely wrong and I'm getting the wrong sort of vibe here. Overall, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think.